This job has always been, to me, and what I know, it's always been built on respect, and seniority plays a part in that. Most of the time people trust your judgment if you're a 15-year guy and you know the job and you actually do the job. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain amount of respect that comes with that.
Do I really gotta sit here like this?
Well, I thought about doing it in the kitchen, but the guys will probably be starting
Cooking,
lunch
yeah.
soon, so,
Did you get a new camera?
yeah,
It's pretty cool.
thanks, man.
Do I have to be serious?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking,
I'm getting a little nervous. You're shutting the door in here. I don't know what kind of plans you have for me.
well, I have never seen you so dressed up before, you know.
Well, it's not gonna happen anytime soon, so. Those are all questions?
Yeah, so we better get started.
Go.
So,
My first day, yeah, I do remember my first day. I was here at like 6 o'clock, and I thought this place was open like 24 hours, like open. So I had to wait in the parking lot for another half hour till the guy got up. And actually on my first day, I had caught my first fire like 15 minutes after I came in. So I didn't even really get a chance to meet my unit.
wow.
I had got my first fire with Unit 1, and I didn't understand the Unit 1, Unit 2 thing. I thought they was here all day with me, but I caught my first fire with actually Lamont Gilbert, who still runs here at Engine 54 on Unit 1.
December 25th, 1989. My first day in the engine house was Christmas. It was very cool. They didn't make me do the dishes or anything. And everyone was nice to me till the next day.
I came before I started working. I came to Engine 29 on a dark, scary night. I met a couple of senior guys. I grabbed a locker, and they of course broke in the trial man by breaking something in the kitchen and having me mop it up.
I do. They told us to come and check out the firehouse, so you knew where you were going before your first day, and yeah, go and check it out before your first day of work, and then going into first day. Yeah, I remember it.
How was that?
It was scary. It was spooky. It was weird. They took it easy on us. I was in the big class of 2000, so there was over 80 trialmen hitting the streets on the same day. So over at 42s was a double camp, so there was me and another trialman there, both doing our first day on the same day.
In the academy, you know, they try and tell you how it's going to be, you know, they try and prep you and prepare you. It's nothing like during the academy though. First fire I got was actually a box alarm. Boxes, you know, an actual fire will need, you know, like it's really going. You know, it's serious. It's not where you go and it's, well, this could be a false alarm. This could just be a small kitchen fire. We get there and it's a full fire. And Chief 7, Tracy Thomas, he's like, all right, kid, let's go. And all I'm thinking is, I've never been inside a fire before. I've never actually, I mean, it's like a million things running through my mind. I don't know what to think. All I know is, okay, just do as you're told. Do as you're told, and you know, our senior men, that's the good thing about working with your senior men. They tell you, you know, if you get hurt, I'm gonna get hurt. So you kind of got like a feeling of assurance that they got your best interests at heart, you know, and they're gonna show you what to do. So I'm putting on my gear, putting on my Nomex. I'm like, oh man, like everything, we rehearsed it so much in the academy, you know, we would get timed and 60 seconds is what you have to put your gear on. It seemed like it took an eternity for me to get my gear on. Then I'm trying to turn my tank on. We go in and I'm like, I can't see anything. They say, you know, during the academy, we put our Nomex over our face piece and they say, you know, this will prepare you for a fire. That's one thing when you know that you got normal conditions. When you're going into a house that's hot and, you know, you're nervous, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't see anything. I feel that it's hot. I don't know where I'm going. I got my flashlight, but that's not really doing too much. All you see is, you know, you see the glow from the fire, and then you see, you know, reflective gear from people ahead, and, you know, it's just so much commotion, guys hollering, you know, go this way, go that way. And I'm like, okay, I think I got it. I think I got it. And the pressure from the line, it's like, I'm a big guy, so I figure I can handle the pressure, but when you got all of this going on and you're trying to hold this line and it's, you know, pushing you back this way or pushing you over, it's an adrenaline rush that you'll never experience anywhere else.
My grandpa was a fireman. He ended up Chief 10, which is now Chief 9. Bill Setch. Fire Grandpa, we used to call him, Fire Grandpa.
First person I actually met was Lieutenant Hartsfield. Well, at that time he was either a lieutenant or a sergeant, and he was sitting at the table in our, you know, where we eat chow at or whatever. And I come in, and you know, you all buttoned up as a trial man, shirt and pants, creases still, military creases and all that. And he was sitting at the table like he did every morning, 6:30 a.m., smoking a cigarette, drinking some coffee. And I was like, you know, TFF Brown reporting for duty, sir. He was like, who? I was like, TFF Brown. He was like, wrong, your name trial man. 5 minutes after that, the fucking bell went off, and I'm stretching. I can't remember the street though.
First day, Cedar Grove, smaller house, but still, holy crap. Started at 50s, which was a big deal when I was a girl, so starting at 50s, I thought it was even awesomer. Because, you know, you think they'd put you away at a quiet place, but I started 50s, busiest station in the nation, was awesome.
Drop that monitor or let it burn? Well, he's also on the same.
Fucking, I can't see. I can't get a word.
Letter 13 is on.
No, I want to stretch. Drop the 2.5?
Yeah, wow, letter 13.
Yes,
okay, yes, sir.
Here's my hydrant. All right. Give him some time to get the fucking.
No problem, ain't going nowhere.
33 on the seat stretcher. Yeah, but I'm not trying to get too close.
It did 33 on the same stretcher.
Oh, yeah. Drop on it.
Yeah, I remember the first one. I remember pulling up and couldn't believe that we were going to actually go into it. I remember looking at my senior man going, we're going in? And it was, yeah, we're going in. And we went in. Yeah, it was intense. Real intense. Yeah, I don't think you forget your first one. Over by Foreman and Gates, I do remember my first fire. It was a house fire. It was an occupied dwelling. Actually, engine 37 was still in service back then. I got my first flash of female firefighters. I met Lisa Delore for the first time. Great firefighter. She was awesome. Awesome senior man, awesome senior woman.
Glenn Smith was my senior man that took me into my first fire. He's a great guy. He's one of the best firemen on this job. He's retired now, but he's got a solid reputation throughout the fire department. He was a great guy.
Man, one of the best senior men, well, two of the best senior men, senior firefighter Daniel Nunnery and senior firefighter Jerry Norgren. Those guys taught me a lot. You know, coming into this, I was completely new to it. You know, completely oblivious to everything that went on. And those guys really took me under their wing and showed me the ropes.
Let's see, I had Mike Bradley, Gunner, Murkowski. All the guys that are captains now were my senior men. And then all the younger guys are now almost close to sergeant, but they're not getting promoted because we stopped promotions. Petey Race, Restorer, all those guys. Tough. No joke.
I was scared as shit. Can I? Yeah. I cussed, didn't I can't cuss? All right. Yeah, I was scared as shit. I really didn't know, you know, your adrenaline rushing. You know what I'm saying? Your heart beating 1,000 beats per minute, it's blowing out both windows upstairs. Lamont like, all right, we're ready to go. I'm like, fucking there? This shit's crazy. So, yeah, I was scared. I thought the floor was, because, you know, when you, this is my first day, like my first hour on the job. So I didn't, you know, you don't have your senses not together at that point. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't know what sounds you looking for. You just know it's hot and it's dark. And what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So I was scared as shit my first fire because I had got it 20 minutes after I got out of my fucking car. So, yeah, I was scared.
It's not a matter of time. It's how many experiences you get to be able to understand, you know, everything that he was trying to say, what to see. So I mean, it just depends how many fires you get. You know, if you're running at a busy company, you're going to get it faster than you would have got if it runs at a slower company. You know, it's just the more experience that you have, the more you're able to develop.
They develop over time. And it's like I was saying, that chief standing in the street, when he get that look like, that's that sixth sense. I remember a firefighter, he's a lieutenant now, Leon Mims. I got caught in the flashover with him. We both were deckies. And I'll never forget, you know, I saw him hit the ground. And he told me, you better get down, it's about to flash. Huh? And look, he said, get down, it's about to flash. And so I hit the ground, and then it flashed. And from that moment on, I know when it's gonna flash. You know, I've been caught in another flashover with a younger guy, and I told him, I say, I want you to stay right where you at, keep working the pipe, it's about to flash. And guess what? It flashed. So I'm sure now he's probably picked up on that, and he knows. Huh?
Can you explain it?
The humorous way that we explain it is, have you ever been in a dark room and then it got darker? Right? It's already dark and you can't see, but you notice that it gets darker. So it's a humorous way to explain it, but you just get this feeling and this sense of what's happening, the change in the conditions that you're fighting fires in, and you learn to read those conditions, you know, and that's how you determine it. You read the conditions, you know what the conditions you need in order for a flashover to occur. So once you see the conditions, because in the firefighting world, conditions are ever evolving. So you have to learn to look at those conditions.
We had so many fires. I would get up, go to the bathroom, and the bathroom's right there. You look out the window, and there's a fire. So you hurry up, go pee, go downstairs, get on it, and we were gone all day. And don't get me wrong, there were smaller houses than around here, but still, it was a blast.
Get baptized by fire sometimes. At least I didn't have to wait all day. You know, sometimes you gotta wait, and you're like, damn, is the bell gonna go off? At least after that point, I was kind of, you know, I was pretty laid back after that, so it was cool.
Sink or swim. There was no advice given back then, where I started, none. Which was, they didn't treat any trailman different, they didn't treat me any different than other ones. But boy, it was either pay attention, jump on board and do it. But after I got my badge, I got shipped over to Region 26 and a lieutenant. Big advice. This is your job. This is what you do. This is what you do good. So keep it up and make sure you do it. And that was like maybe 3 years after. It was solid.
You old school like that, captains don't have no reason to talk to trial men. You know what I'm saying? You don't talk. It's like a hierarchy thing where the trial man talk to the senior man, and then the senior man talk to the boss, and then the boss tell him what he wants you to do, and then the senior man come back and tell you. You know what I'm saying? You don't have no reason to talk to the captain or the chief. Honestly, you know what I'm saying? If you're not at a fire, you're not just fucking sitting there talking to them.
From firefighter to sergeant, or from FFD to FEO, when you're up in line, you got promoted with the knowledge that you have at that point.
So it's absolutely fair. Everybody gets promoted in the order you were hired, and there's no favoritism. There's no stacking the deck.
And do most of the guys favor?
I haven't heard anybody who doesn't favor the seniority system.
Trust me, it don't matter if you 1 or 100 names behind somebody. They're gonna fucking tell you, and you're gonna know. Even if they gotta pull out the seniority book, you're gonna know. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just the way things go in the seniority system. Like, you ain't, as a child man, you fucking lower than well shit. You know?
Guys were retiring at an alarming rate, but they weren't hiring. The city wasn't hiring anybody. And now they're starting to hire. So there's a big gap between the class that they just got their badge and the guys, there's like 15 years in between there.
If you check the records or the stats, promotional systems across the country, they're testing systems for promotions, what they call competitive promotions. The problem with those testing systems is there's no leadership or supervisory component built into it. So what you're finding out is across the country with these promotional systems, they're not promoting the most qualified guy. In some cases they are by luck of the numbers, but what they're promoting is the guy with the best memory. So that make you a good supervisor, that make you a good leader.
And they said it, they told me 5 years. Well, they tell you you ain't shit till you got 5 years on. And absolutely true. 5 years fighting fires.
Every day you learn something different about fires. Every day you see something different about fires. Since I became sergeant, I learned a lot more perspective of outside of the box than inside of the box. When you're, to me, inside of the box, you're stretching, you're going in, you're doing the job. Outside of the box, the guy wearing the blue shirt, while you're stretching and getting excited and getting ready to go do the job, he's got like 14 other things he's paying attention to so that you don't get hurt, so that the occupants don't get hurt, and so that you can save the occupants. I mean, you just go right down the list, and he's doing all of that in like less than 30 seconds before he's going in with his men and passing command to the next guy and letting that guy know, hey, we got this going on, that going on, so on and so forth. Experience is the only thing that'll bring that to you. I don't care how many books you read.
It's a skill that you develop from being inside an actual fire, because it's very difficult to recreate the conditions of an actual fire, of an actual emergency response to a fire. Just little things that guys don't realize about pulling line and how to enter and what to do in a situation where you find out that people are trapped, and actual search and rescue techniques. And obviously guys think they train for them when they put a cover over their mask and crawl around and try to find stuff on the floor, but that's all well and good when there's not 500 people screaming and it's 280 degrees and you're down on your face and there's children trapped. The only way you're going to prepare to operate inside of a fire is to operate inside of a fire. And you can do the little smokehouse drills or whatever it may be, but there's never going to be any substitute for what you learn out in the field. And we try to spend as much time as we can with the trial men relating to them about real life forcible entry scenarios, real life ventilation. And once again, it's really difficult to recreate the conditions of an actual stretch. So the best thing you can do is, after every time you have a fire, is sit down with the trial firefighters and say, hey, what did you see? What did you notice? What could we have done differently? What could we have done better? And those experiences are only going to be accrued in the field through actual life experience, in my eyes. And I'm sure there's probably plenty of people who are training people who would disagree with my perspective, but that's the way I see it.
You know, one of the things a boss told me as a young man on the job, because as a trial man, you always got the pipe, right? So they tell you got the pipe, you the first one in the door, right? Being the first guy in the door, there's a perspective that you see, right? But then sometimes they'll say, okay, now that you're doing truck service, now that you got your badge, now I want you to go in behind the guy with the pipe. Totally different perspective, right? Before, you the first guy, you only see in one perspective. But now you the second guy, it's a totally different perspective. But when you first go on a job, you never know what the second guy perspective is, because you always go on in first. And so being in those different positions allow you to observe the ever-changing conditions, and then you just start picking up on them. So when that boss is telling me something, it's because of what he sees that I may not necessarily be seeing, because I'm in the first spot perspective.
We learn from each other still, or learn from ourselves still, and I don't think people really give us enough credit for that. Like, or if somebody gets hurt, you know, knock on wood, but if somebody gets hurt, you be like, well, damn, shouldn't have did this next time that happens. Now, it might not happen the same way next time, but it's gonna be similar. So, you know, that's how we learn. You know what I'm saying? Because we bounce it off each other. Like when you're doing the reports, or you're finishing cooking your first or second meal, or you fucking drinking coffee in the morning. You know, we figure it out.
And that was one of the things I loved about Marvin Massey. I mean, after every fire, and sometimes he wouldn't even wait till you got back to the firehouse. He would do it right there in the dwelling. You know, did you see that? Did you see what you did? You know, tell me, give me another way you could have did that. Show me another way you could have did that. Well, here, how about this? Next time, try this. So you walked away every work day feeling like you learned something from him. You know, that was the great thing about working with Marvin Massey. It seemed like every day you learned something on how to do your job.
First senior man of the house would have been Ruben Diaz. Just recently retired within the last 3 or 4 years as just before making chief, I believe. I don't think he ever made chief. He's a good man, very good firefighter. Very instructive, learned a lot from him. I had a lot of good bosses though. Class of '91, we had a lot of good senior men down here. Tom Fithian, Jerry Cummings, those were just making sergeant kind of guys. Then there was Jimmy Provost, Joe Haig, Dean Taney, Bob Brooks, Jim Trinkle. Steve House was a sergeant. He was good. He was a good cat. He was a good cat. He passed away, God rest his soul, from cancer.
He was a lieutenant of mine, DeSmith, at the time. He's retired now.
What was his name?
Craig DeSmith. He's retired now, like I said, but he taught me a lot, and he was willing to teach. He wanted to teach. You know, every fire always critiquing and showing what we should and shouldn't do, and what to look for, what not to look for, how to see without your eyes, if you understand. I mean, you know, use your other senses. You know, but yeah, he's probably one of the biggest that sticks out.
I was always amazed when I was young that on the job where older guys would say, "Hey, fog it out the window," and I couldn't even tell where the window was. I had no idea. But by using the line to locate it through sound, and you started to develop that. And I don't know. I've had instances where I stopped short of falling through a hole just because I just didn't feel comfortable. But I don't know if that's really a sixth sense or if it's just that of understanding your surroundings around you, knowing that it was a basement fire and it was blowing out real hard in one area. You might know that it could have burned through the floor there, or but definitely the more time you spend in that environment, the busier you are, the more comfortable you are in it as far as your movement and how you move around inside of a fire. And you'll see that as guys are there longer, they develop larger thresholds of what they will and won't do based on their own fears. And I think that's as much as a part of it as having a sixth sense. Just you're developing your comfortable area inside the fire, and that takes time. It's I don't know if it's so much a sixth sense as just a feeling of being aware of what's around you.
The way I look at the senior man, it was somebody when I first came on the job I looked up to. Senior man set the tone for the day. He made sure everything, you know, went well. He made sure that things that needed to be done throughout the course of the day was done. And he supervised to a degree, as well as imparted wisdom and knowledge, just like officers, because he was an officer in training. He enforced the rules as the men agreed upon rules as it relates to the firehouse day to day. Because if the boss got involved, then he gonna go straight by the book. You know, the boss ain't gonna waver. He gonna tell you like it is, and that's the way it's gonna go. But you know, the guys work out their little things, and the senior man made sure everything, all those things flowed smoothly, like details, the detail book, the watch book. You know, he oversaw all those things.
Sam Locke, Ron Bill, Larry Miles, Larry Snowden, Monroe Kelly. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of good guys that retired. I can't even name them all, and people forget about them. And what I tell my guys today is that I'm the go-between. I mean, they hear the stories. You know, Steve Parcell, Ralph Gardner, George Shimko. It's a lot of guys. You know, a lot of them has passed. A lot of them has moved on or whatever. You know, and all I want to do is, if I can instill in them, instill in my guys what those guys instilled with me, the fire department be good going forward.
You know, there's so many bosses that stand out as, you know, certainly gentlemen that were deserved to be looked up to. They were well respected, and on top of that, you know, they earned it. The way they carried themselves. But Marvin Massey, Captain Marvin Massey, Captain Sam Locke, Captain Adrian Locke. You know, I can go on. Larry Snowden, Larry Miles, Norm Brown. You know, great guys as individuals, but great leaders.
I ran with a bunch of the best guys on the job. Ron Winchester, Pete Lopez, Gary Schultz, Bob Garrigan, Tim Kelly, Pat O'Dowd. I mean, I could just go on forever. You know, I've always run at good companies where those guys were awesome in passing their technique and knowledge down to the younger guys, and that's kind of what we try to do here. I mean, that's all we have left is what we give each other now, because there's really nothing. I mean, you try to break everything else. We can't let certain things go that we still do, like little things like eating. We still do seniority night for eating, stuff like that. We need to hold on to. I mean, because that's really, in 5 or 6 years, that's all you're going to have left of the olden days.
I got a lot of them. I got Jerry Cummings, Tom Fillion, geez, I could go on and on. Al Taylor, Doug Henry, Todd Porter. When I was a trial man, I had a great, crazy group of guys.
I had a couple guys that I thought were incredibly influential in my development as a firefighter, and even now as a boss, because I think about how they conducted themselves as bosses. My very first exemplary boss's name was Sam Locke. His brother Adrian was also on the job, and he was my officer when I first transferred to Squad 5, because I left Engine 51 and went to Squad 5 when I had about 2.5 years on the job. And just a tremendous fireman, a great firehouse boss, a great leader, the kind of guy who kept everything in perspective around the house. And when I went to Squad 5, I also had my first experience with a real senior man, because the senior man there, his name was Paul Martin, and he was a very strong personality as a senior man, and really kept everything together. And then after I left Squad 5 and I went to Squad 4, I had a bunch of, well, actually before I left, I also had a really good boss on the engine there at Engine 40. His name was Marvin Massey. And another guy that was just a great fireman, a great boss, took care of his guys, did everything at the firehouse, always in every fire right with you. And after I left there, I ran into a multitude of bosses that were like that. Bob Latka, Tawny McGowan, Al Ventry, just bunches of really good bosses, and I'm sure there's a bunch that I'm leaving out. And they were all products of the seniority system, guys who had learned from the guys who had come before them, and we had hoped that we would all be as good of bosses as they were. And those guys all had huge influences on us as young firefighters.
Timmy McKell was a great firefighter. He was great. I remember being on the top of the stick one time trying to go through this attic window, and the smoke was just so thick and black and just pushing me back. It was hot too. And Timmy was right behind me, and he goes, "Rob, if you don't get in there, then get the fuck out the way." And I'm like, oh, this is my best buddy in the whole world. I didn't know whether to jump off the ladder or what, but I said, if Timmy's telling me to get in there or get out the way, I just had to grin and bear it and dive through that hot ass fucking smoke. Thank God there was a floor there. Cause in my mind, I thought I was gonna drop all the way to the first floor. So Timmy McHale was one of my best senior bosses. But I had a lot of them. I had a lot, so Timmy was great. He's one that sticks out.
Personally, I think seniority was fair. For this amount of people, you know what I'm saying? It's fair. It guaranteed you that you would leave with a certain amount of pension money. You would at least retire a sergeant, you know what I'm saying? And be able to take care of, you know, retire and be comfortable. But that's changed. I thought it was fair. And you know, with everything, with every system, it's a gray area. So yeah, you might get a fucking idiot boss, or you might even get a Jake boss who was out for 22 years and come back just to be captain and then leave. You gotta get that. That's the gray area. But at the same time, it was fair. Everybody got their chance. I thought it was fair. And, you know, everything changes. You can't expect stuff to be the same forever. So.
But I'll tell you what. Fighting fires here. You continue doing it and doing it and doing it. That means something. Something huge.
You get twisted, turned around. I guess what I'm saying is the only way you can fucking get through this is to have experience. And experience means everything. Seniority means experience in Detroit.
But to put it in layman terms, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And you got a flat tire. And it's 10 below. And you got your kids in the car with you. Right? Now who do you want to come and change that tire? The guy who read a book on how to change a tire, or the guy down the street with the dirty hands that changed 100 tires a day?
Yeah. So 4 months into my 26th year.
And how long did you work before you made sergeant?
18 years, 11 months, I believe it was.
I think the first time I made sergeant was 22 years. Or 21 years, maybe 22.
I know guys who were on this job for over 25 years that were college graduates with associates and bachelor's and master's degrees. I know people right now that are on this job that have master's degrees who are waiting their turn. They know, intelligently, they know that you can't do this job without having some kind of time on the job to get the feeling for what you're doing.
Seniority has got to be saved. They're gonna kill a lot of firemen by breaking seniority, and it's a fact. Not just firemen, but they're gonna lose a lot of civilians too. So I hope I'm gone before that happens.
Nobody's gonna respect really a fucking 5-year guy who applied to be sergeant and now he got his little certificates because he got a good memory and now he's the boss. Nobody gonna give a fuck. You go to a fucking 10-year guy gonna tell a 20-year guy. It's just not gonna happen. And you know, you can have whatever you want, but people gonna respect seniority. People that been here are always gonna respect the seniority system. Like the ranking might reflect something different, but if you've been here and you've been around these blocks a few times, seniority really is not going anywhere.
I think it was a great thing. You definitely learn more by doing than by reading, for sure. That goes for any job in the world, anybody can tell you that. I mean, just because I read Sports Illustrated doesn't make me a Major League Baseball player. I mean, I can know all the ins and outs of any football strategy book. Doesn't make me a great NFL quarterback. You know, I mean, it's like that with any job. You read about it all you want, but your first day is your first day, and that's where you really learn is hands-on. And a job like this, when life is on the line, I think that's more important than anything, for sure.
Not gonna change the culture, because we got trial men now, and we teaching them what we know, and we teaching them the rules. So it's just gonna be passed down to the next trial man. You see what I'm saying? So you can never kill the culture. You can change some of the things we do. You can change how we do it. You can make us reach certain requirements, but the actual culture of it, you'll never change it. It'll always be the same.
Put your time in, learn the job so you don't get somebody hurt.
Now, you know, some people say we never have firefighters die. But do you have 9 fires in a day? You know, do you go in the house, put the fire out, or do you stand outside? You know, I think for the workload we have and the casualties we have had, to me, we should get straight A's.
Well, I mean, that's a skill within itself, is when you look at the records, Detroit doesn't lose firefighters in fires. I think that's a direct correlation to our experience. I think that the chief standing out in the street making the calls got 30 years of hardcore firefighting experience. So when he sees something don't look right and he get that feeling, you know, everybody out. He didn't get that from a book. He got that because he's been out there for 30 years.
You get 5 years on a job, take a test, be a lieutenant because of your schooling. Having any fire service doesn't mean shit. And these are the guys that are going to be your lieutenants and captains probably 10 years from now, taking the new young guys in, teaching them how to get killed. And that's as plain as I can say it.
Seniority is still the same way it's always been. The commissioner that we've got right now, the current commissioner, he likes our seniority system. He thinks it works. What they're trying to do, instead of putting a big huge halt to the old seniority system and just say, listen, these guys have experience, they have, I beg your pardon, not the experience, they have training, schooling, knowledge, all this, blah, blah, blah. We're going to give those jobs to them. What they're doing is they're currently putting all of us through the training. All of us are getting the proper training that we need to become officers in the City of Detroit Fire Department. So the commissioner loves our experience aspect. That's why he thinks that the seniority system works for the City of Detroit. Well, the fire department. He's by far the best commissioner we've ever had. He cares about, genuinely cares about the individuals personally, their health and well-being, and he is focused on getting this department to be a top-notch, front-running department throughout the country. We always have been as far as firefighting, but it's all the background stuff that not so much.
Right now, seniority is still semi-intact. I think they're going to destroy this fire department if they break seniority. They will destroy it.
So what the city hadn't done in the past is offered us the training. They kept complaining, look, our guys have a high school diploma and nothing more. Well, you've got a regional training center. Give us the training. And now this new commissioner is finally making that happen.